Hello everybody, today we will be undergoing one of our final challenges in this interval series, and that is hearing the two widest intervals before the octave. That is the minor seventh and the major seventh. Whoa, that sounds kind of crazy when you put them next to each other. Minor seven and major seven. Thus far, we've battled sharks in shallow water, proving to be as useful as a chicken wing. We've also battled killer clowns with alternate universe laser beams in the dentist office. We've uncovered the mystery of music by learning the two most crucial tonal benchmarks that there are. And I speak, of course, of the minor third and the major third. The bride has come down the aisle to a perfect fourth, and Jar Jar Binks has come down the aisle with a perfect fifth. The tritone destroyed our lives by conjuring up a demonic presence that follows us everywhere we go. Yeah, and the minor and major six gave us a little bit of ragtime in the minor six, right? And a comfy return to the days of cable TV with NBC. Now it's time to go for quite possibly the two most difficult intervals to hear, at least below the octave. The minor and major sevenths, like I said before, are very wide intervals, so it can be tough for our ear to pick up exactly how far they are. But fear not, if you come along this journey, you will not have a problem. And if you have not watched my earlier videos on this topic, I have a whole playlist of videos for ear training purposes where I go through every interval up till this point, just like we outlined briefly in the previous segment. Well, guess what? Today we're going to do the minor and the major seventh, starting with the minor seventh. The minor seventh interval is 10 half steps away from the original note or root note. In this case, if our root is C, we must travel upward to C sharp, D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, to A sharp, or better known as B flat. The reason why I call this B flat instead of A sharp is quite a simple reason. Although it is the same pitch, here's an A sharp, and here's a B flat. Sounds the same, right? Well, here's the difference. The difference comes with the actual note. They're not the same note. An A is not the same as a B. You don't say that banana starts with the letter A, you say it starts with the letter B, because notes matter in this context. Now, essentially what we're going to do is use our fingers, right? So we have to start on C, which is going to be 1. C. If we count up, D, E, F, G, A is a 6, that's 1 short of 7. But a B, if we have a type of B, that is the 7th note away from a C. So it's all about numbers and letters and really counting with your fingers. So we're going all the way back to elementary school with this one. Don't be afraid to go back to elementary school, just like Billy Madison did in that silly movie about Adam Sandler going back to elementary school. You know what I'm talking about. C, D, E, F, G, A is a 6, B is a 7th. Those 10 half steps can also be achieved through 5 whole steps. C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, to finally A sharp or B flat in our case. Let's listen to the minor seventh for a little while and get familiar with its sound. As you listen to the interval more and more, try thinking of descriptive terms that best embody what the sound is. I find this interval to be wide, somewhat dissonant, and it reminds me a whole lot of the blues. For those of you who are unaware, the crux of a blues progression comes from the flatted seventh, or in this case, the minor seventh interval. Now, a minor seventh is contained within every single 7th chord that we have, at least in a blues context. If we play a C 7th chord, sounds pretty bluesy to me. The 7th is a flatted 7th and is contained right here. Listen. You hear that minor 7th? That's the sound of it. And It makes the sound of the chord very cool and very American sounding as well. Americana, the blues, that's all about Americanism right there. So there's a C7 with a C and a B flat. If we were to move that up to an F7 and we play an F and an E flat, we get the same exact chord, just on the 4th scale degree. So here's the 1 chord, F, the 4 chord, both 7s. We can move that up to G, hell, A flat 7. All the same type of chord, having flat 7s or minor 7s within it. Here, I'm just going to play that progression with just the minor 7th interval, and we're going to get the same vibe. All minor 7ths, all of the time. Blues Time Radio with RomanOva music plays now. Now, due to its width, or girth, I should say, more appropriately speaking, we are talking about American-style intervals here. Not really American. It wasn't created in America, but you know what I'm saying. It was widely utilized in America. Because of this disjointed and dissonant sound, the minor 7th is not found in all too many examples of popular music or even classical music for that matter. The minor 7th as a jump, like I said, is very wide, so it's hard to find a melodic leap like that in any popular examples. But I was able to compile a list of a few of them, and we're going to go through them right now. The first example comes yet again from Leonard Bernstein and his great work known as West Side Story.
A place for us.
The minor 7th is prominently displayed during the first melodic bit of Somewhere. Listen here. Those first 2 notes of the melody are a leap of a minor 7th interval. Just those first 2 notes right there, B flat and A flat, and that's it. Cut the melody short in your head to further enhance your ear training experience. So you gotta cut it off before there's a don't sing a place for us, because those are different intervals and we don't want to confuse it with the minor 7th. So there's a, and that's it. You have those 2 notes and don't go any further, please. As we move through these examples, we have to consistently perfect incomplete melodies, driving the composers of the music absolutely insane. Leonard Bernstein is going to come out from the grave, undead Bernstein, the revenge of Leonard Bernstein, because you refuse, or we collectively refuse, to play his entire melody as a complete work. And we know this drives the artist completely mad. So Leonard Bernstein's going to come up through the ground with a big black cloak on, rising from the ashes like a phoenix, with fireballs in both of his hands, throwing it at your hometown, and you, so to speak. Your aunt, your uncle, your cousins, your grandma, even your grandma will not be spared by the wrath of Leonard Bernstein, being enraged by the incomplete versions of his music. He'd probably be just as enraged by the new version of his classic West Side Story, which I wouldn't watch the new one, folks. It leaves out a lot of crucial narrative elements that we won't get onto this video. The next example is a quick little blip from a Steely Dan song. The first 2 notes of Josie from the album Asia utilize the minor 7th interval as it travels through the intro. Yet another incomplete melody. Right? We have to stop it right after the first 2 notes. And there's your first interval, a minor 7th. E to D. Also, the first chord that vamps is a minor 7th chord. Alright, so it's basically the chord we played before, but with a minor 3rd instead. And if you listen carefully, you can hear that minor 7th interval being played inside of it. Now, it's a little harder to hear stuff like that, but trying to train your ear to split the notes of a chord either in half or in quarters, and try to hear those notes in between the notes that I'm playing. So I'm playing 4 notes here, and our goal is to only hear the lowest note and the one in the middle. So you want to make sure you're able to do that with any chord, really. And because this is another example of an incomplete melody, we must have another enraged composer, but this time it's going to be even more irrational. Donald Fagen, the keyboardist and vocalist for Steely Dan, his jaw is going to become completely dislodged from his mouth in anger, like this. Just like in the Do It Again video from the Midnight Special live in the 1970s. Back, Jack, do it again. You see how his jaw completely dislodges and goes like this? What an absolute madman. Another quick example comes in the form of a special duo performance. Stop Dragging My Heart Around by Stevie Nicks, also featuring Tom Petty, has a little guitar lick that occurs during the instrumental bits that set up the verse. A very nice sound, right? And it has that very nostalgic 1980s sound because this sort of thing was used a lot during that decade, all right? And it gives us a feeling of nostalgia, like we're on a boardwalk filled with lights and carnival rides and Ferris wheels and just the entire world ahead of us. Nothing matters but the night that follows, or the night that precedes, or the night that is given to us by this interval. This is the minor 7th interval with a minor 3rd in it, by the way. So here's the minor 3rd, which is kind of like the lullaby, and here's the minor 7th, which is just like Josie, the incomplete melody we played. But look, it sets up the whole song. So there's no mistaking that it's a tonality of an E minor 7th. Another way to hear the minor 7th is to think of it as being a whole step away from the octave. So say we have a C and a B flat, that makes a minor 7th. And if we move it up another whole step, it becomes an octave. So once again, C plus B flat as a minor 7th, and a C plus C as an octave, which is one whole step away. Conversely, the major 7th interval, which sounds like that, oh boy. That's pretty dissonant, but we can also make that sound beautiful. We'll get to that. The major 7th is a half step away from the octave, which has a resolution that sounds like this. Very beautiful when you resolve it, right? It's very similar to how a tritone resolves to a 5th. But this is coming up to an even more pure tone. Major 7th to root note. So 7th to octave, a very, very close relationship. So it's a half step away from the root instead of a whole step like the minor 7th. Okay? Major 7th, half step. Minor 7th, whole step. Half step, whole step. Half step, whole step, and you make sure you do it over and over and over again until it's drilled into your head. Let's do with the major 7th what we did with the minor 7th. With this interval, we must travel 11 half steps to reach our destination. So let's move from C to C sharp to D sharp to E to F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, all the way to B, just shy of that octave. And although these 7th intervals carry a lot of tension on their backs, they can sound very beautiful when mixed into a proper context. So a major 7th on its own sounds like this. Alright, so kind of rough sounding on its own if we don't have a basis for it. But if we add a chord to it, we play a C major 7, it sounds very, very beautiful. And you can just keep moving that around. No matter where you move it around, it always sounds nice, right? All of these are the sound of a major 7th chord. And conversely, if we play a minor 7th chord, like we did with Josie, just as beautiful, right? A different type of beauty. One's a minor type of beauty, the other's a major type of beauty. Alright, very nice. Minor 7th, major 7th. These two sounds, along with the dominant 7th and the other 7ths as well, single-handedly carry the genre known as jazz music. So remember that. Now, admittedly, it's more difficult to find examples of the major 7th used in a familiar context, but I found a couple that will really help. Starting with this 1980s one-hit wonder. That's right, Aha's Take On Me has a chorus that starts with a major 7th. And it doesn't just use the major 7th, it outlines the major 7th. Take on me. That first note is explicitly a major 7th interval. Resolving to the octave, by the way, right? Remember when we talked about that? That half step is a resolution from the major 7th to the octave. So tension, resolution, bing bom, boom bom, Norwegian Sunday on a morning dew. Now, this band is from Norway, by the way, and this is a 1980s one-hit wonder that uses the major 7th explicitly, not just implicitly. It uses it right in your face. We're going to have to put an explicit content warning. Norwegian profanity, that's right. Oof, listen to that major 7th. I'm not going to resolve it either. The final example takes us through a fanciful journey, through a Snosberry wallpaper factory, and a steamboat ride through hell.
In a world of pure imagination.
Pure Imagination from the original Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the one with Gene Wilder, of course, gives us this interval alongside another familiar friend. What's cool about this song, and perfect for a video like this, is that it outlines the two intervals that I've been talking about this entire time. The first one, come with me and you'll be... Those first couple lines utilize the minor 7th interval. Right? Just like in Stop Dragging My Heart Around, you have the same exact interval. But sung, come with me and you'll be... And that last part, in a world of pure imagination, right? This, in a world, is the major 7th interval. So we have both the minor 7th and the major 7th, both in one stretch of phrases. We also have that octave resolution happening on the top as well, but the major 7th is clearly being defined here. So minor 7th, major 7th. Alright, so very tense, of course, and with this whole thing we actually create a minor 9th chord. Alright, when you play a minor 7th and that sort of D major 7th at the same time, in this case a B minor 7th and a D major 7th on top of each other, you get a B minor 9. A very beautiful sounding chord and filled with tension, but to our ears can be fully resolved and not really need to move anywhere, which is the genius behind Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Alright y'all, it's quiz time. I will be giving you 6 different intervals, either a minor 7th or a major 7th, and it's up to you to tell me what the correct answer is. So let's review real fast. Here is a minor 7th, and here is a major 7th. One more time, minor 7th, major 7th. Okay, let's get into it. I will play them separately first 2 times, and then I will play them together 2 times. Here's the first one. Eyes like a Roman with your eyes on fire. That's a minor 7th. sound of smooth jazz, minor seventh. The other sound of smooth jazz, major seventh. I'm hearing just a little bit of Willy Wonka in there, major seventh. Sounds like West Side Story to me, minor seventh. And this final one, with no tension being released, major seventh. Alright everybody, thanks very much. We have completed the minor seventh and major seventh portion of the program of our ear training course here, this mini course happening on YouTube. Make sure you check out the earlier videos if you have not. I have a whole playlist with all of them in order. So you want to be able to master all of these, alright, before moving on to the next one. And this is cumulative, alright? If you start with the seconds, you need to master the minor and major seconds before moving on to the thirds. And you got to master all of them up until this point. So if you're watching this video now, I expect that you have all these down. Alright? So if you can't hear the difference between a minor third and a major third, go back and do that, because we're just going to keep getting crazier and crazier here. Alright? And music doesn't stop just because your ears can't pick up the difference, the subtle differences in the sounds. Alright everybody, please heed my warning. Go through all this stuff, get it down, and take time on those little things, alright? Take an entire week, take 2 weeks on the minor and major thirds if you have to, alright, before moving on. Rewatch the video over and over again. Re-listen to those intervals over and over again, and you will be in the proper spot. The next video we're going to go over how to hear octaves, which is going to be kind of easy. It's going to be fun as well, because it's a very pure interval. One of the purest in existence. Alright y'all, see you later. Have a good day, a good night, a good morning, a good evening, whichever one it is. Bon anniversaire, au revoir, whatever. Happy birthday to you. And I will see you on the next one. Goodbye, folks.